Hi there guys and welcome to another Train Sim 2018 video. Today we are doing another Chris Horsfield scenario, and this is, I say it's a sad day. Chris is taking a little break from Train Sim stuff for a little while, so this might be the last scenario we see from him for a little while, but I very much hope we'll see him back soon enough. Several factors contributed to this, some of the Facebook group stuff. There's been a lot of whinging and whining in several places, isn't there? But I'm not going to get into that. That's not what this video is about. So, arms from Powerhouse Class 90. We have a rake of Mark IVs. So let's get the cab set up and then I'll show you outside. Let's take my DRA off because I don't need that. Master key in, stick it into neutral. Let's isolate the DSD straight away. Marker lights on, instrument lights on to dim, and we want our headlights on day. ETS switched on. Hi, you know the bizzo, stopping at Grantham and Newark. Only open doors will be ready for departure. Already done it, mate. Okay, that's my cab set up. Beautiful. 90039 is our faithful steed for today. So this has been happening quite a bit recently due to 91's not being available for various reasons, whether on overhaul or just normal work. It's something that's happened throughout the career of the Mark IVs on the East Coast Main Line, that they've been hauled by 90s at some point. Both have UIC cabling, but we'll get into that as we get going. I will do a little bit of a manual read through the 90. It's not the most exciting read in the world, but we'll go through some bits and pieces. As you can see, this route does have some weird station stuff, so you only get a few doors opening. This is the Creative Rails version, but as you can see, it has the Johnny track upgrades, which are available on the CH Scenario website, and they're the first link in the description box that's not my Twitch or my Facebook. They are on there. Feel free to go and get them. Okay, so we've been given all our passengers are loaded up now. Let's race that 170 out of here. Now, usually on departure with the 90, I'd have set the speed set, but as it's just 25 for a few seconds and then straight up to 115, I didn't really see the problem with just going setting off as we were. As soon as you get the back end of the train away from there. Oh, now if I'm right, let's have a look, see this one, if this one's special. There is a little buffet car to show us later on, so the next HST set I think it's going to be. So yeah, Johnny's track upgrade, it does seem to cause some weird texture bleeds. This is the first time that I've driven on this route properly with this, I think. And it's not as good as I thought it was, if I'm completely honest with you. Although the original track this came with was weird and green, so it's a bit of a sort of... it's up to you what you think, really. I slightly prefer it. I can deal with the texture bleeds, I reckon, just for the slightly better track. I don't think it's all the way up on the route. Some bits are worse than others. It's the Rail Operations Group. That's one of the DP Simulations reskins, actually. We've got an EWS 66 over there. Now, this route isn't available at the minute. It has been available, but Creative Rail were creating a new route, and I think they're updating their website as well, so therefore this has been taken off sale while that's all going on. I don't know when it's going to be back on. I've no idea. I suggest if you really desperately need to know that, contact Creative Rail themselves. It's just really bad timing with the Harrogate Loop route and all that coming out that use the assets from this is pretty harsh. But I'm sure it'll be back up and running soon enough. Okay, the Class 90s. Wonderful beasts that they are. So the Class 90s are a 5,000 horsepower. Oh, hang on, is this the HST I want? Yes, this is it. Check out this bad boy. This is Lewis Clowes's handiwork in Illustrator. He's done all of this by hand. I'm really, really impressed with it. It's not complete, it's still a work in progress. And I don't know when or if it can be released yet. He's still got to speak to, I think it's Brad and stuff, he's got to speak to BH Reskins before he can. But I was giving it to have a little bit of a test with and see if I could see any glitches with it, and it seems to have gone really well. It's a nice touch on the side of it, and considering this is a VP185 powered set, it's brilliant. I don't know if the buffered version actually has ended up on the East Coast mainline yet. It may have. I know we did have 43043 because I actually saw that with my very own eyes. Actually, that's quite a nice screenshot, isn't it? I like that. So yeah, they're a 5,000 horsepower Bobo 25 kilovolt electric locomotive designed by BREL and built in Crew Works. So BREL, as you should all know, is British Rail Engineering Limited. They are designed for both locomotive hauled and push-pull operation, and in the latter mode can be operated remotely from a driving van trailer. These use a time division multiplex system of control by which sends signals are sent through the standard railway clearinghouse RCH lighting cables or the UIC 12-way jumper cables to operate the controls of the locomotive. Mark III coaches have RCH jumper cables only, whilst the Mark IVs will have both RCH and UIC. Class 90 locomotive will operate with either system. Principal statistics, they're 85 tonnes, their max speed is 110 miles per hour, their brake force is 40 tonnes, their minimum radius curve is 80 metres, route availability of 7, and electric train heating index of 95. So just past a 170 on its way up to Birmingham there. So the Wagons Armstrong Powerhouse model of the Class 90 is by far one of the best trains in Train Simulator, by far. It's up there with the top dogs like the 205 and things like that. I thoroughly enjoy driving it. Thoroughly enjoy driving it. The 90s are quite an unsung hero of the British rail network. They sort of modernised the transport on the West Coast Main Line first of all. Then when the Voyager and stuff came over, oh, there's another 170 on its way to Stansted. Then the Great Eastern Main Line got them. They've also been used on the East Coast Main Line. They're a true workhorse, really, and a truly mixed traffic locomotive. Quite happy hauling freight for Freightliner, sleeper trains, passenger trains. They're a very handy bit of kit. What's going to happen to them when they come off lease at the Great Eastern Main Line, I don't know, because there will be pretty much quite a high surplus of them. So I'm unsure. I'm sure they're probably quite might be an asset for some open access operators or whatnot, I'm not sure. I suppose with their mixed traffic abilities, they've got more of a chance of staying on the rails than, say, something like the 91s have. So, okay, in the cab, what do we have with the 90s? Very similar to a lot of locomotives of its era. So it's got the automatic air brake controller here. This is 9 positions. It has release, running, initial 1, which is initial step 2, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, full service, which is step 6, and emergency, which is step 7. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Even though it sounds like it isn't, there are 9 positions on that. It says here, note that the controller is spring-loaded to return to the run position from the release, and that emergency position is fully forward. So you'll notice that even is modelled on here, so if I just... that's it in release, that's it in the running position. To enable heavy trains to be moved away on a rising gradient, traction power can be obtained with the brake controller in initial 1, 2 or 3, but not beyond. This facility is not available at speeds above 6 miles per hour. And it says the train brake controller must be left in the full service position in all unoccupied driving compartments. So being a locomotive, here you also have the independent air brake controller. To apply the independent air brake, the controller is pushed forwards to allow air to pass to the brake cylinders until the desired pressure is indicated on the gauge, whereupon the controller must be moved back to the centre lap position to maintain that degree of brake application. Note that the independent air brake controller is not spring-loaded, and it must be positioned in the release position in all unoccupied driving compartments. So that isn't quite the case on this, is it? Because that's where it needs to be. Or does it need to... no, it needs to be there in this compartment, but if I went to the other cab, not that one, because that's the DVT, that should be in the release position. Just find something else to... So the cab air treatment switch, high-low heating control, which is over here, I think. There, yeah. This is used in conjunction with the air treatment switch. If the switch is at heat and high is selected, then both banks of heaters in the circuit will be on, and the low position selects only one of the heater banks. If the switch is at cool, then fan speeds can be set at either high or low to suit the conditions. So there you go. So you've got the LED display, which is a feature of the 90 and the 91. The 92 had a similar thing, but in a box up here. And the 60 had a similar thing, but in a panel actually behind the cab, in the clean air compartment. So you've got AWS DSD vigilance isolated, standard practice, that tells you what it's doing. If that was any of those were isolated, it would be red. Headlights, if they weren't on, that would be red. Wheel slip again, it'd go red. General fault light, so general fault light could be on with or without a loss of traction power. You'd need to go and check a lot of other things. We'll get to that later on. Battery status means that they're charging and that they have enough power in them. ETS, which is your electric train supply, that's providing all the heating and lighting for the coaches behind me. Then you've got your line light, that's making sure that the pantograph is connected to the overhead lines and that it is giving me power. And then you've got auto drop, which is the ADD. The ADD is actually simulated in this, and what that does is this wonderful pantograph up here. This is a Bretnell Willis high-speed pantograph. You can see how the wire's staggered, so it does sort of zigzags across the top of this pantograph here. Why it does that is if it just stayed in one line, it'd wear a groove in what's on here, and the top of this pantograph isn't metal, it's carbon. They're carbon sort of strips, and those carbon strips fit very neatly into a groove that has a channel in it that is filled with pressurised air. Now if anything breaks those carbon pads, those carbon sort of strips, the air pressure will release and that will automatically drop the pantograph. So what that means is if the pantograph, the wires were snagged or anything and they took off that carbon strip, which does happen quite often, it would automatically drop the pantograph. It's not a fail-safe device in the sense that it's infallible. If you've got a really big load of wires all snagged up, then it's not going to drop. Or if the wires actually catch on your pantograph, it's probably going to rip the pantograph off before it will get a chance to drop. So it does its job to a point, but it's not the be-all and end-all. Just keeping an eye on my miles to Grantham now, because Grantham always tends to sneak up on me. So there's a brake test switch. Where's that located on this bad boy? You'll be going, there it is, it's not there, it's over there. For some reason it doesn't actually show me a picture of where it is. These have always sort of intrigued me a little bit, brake test switches, because they're never really modelled in anything. So when working a conventional train, the switch should be used to enable a brake continuity test to be made from the rear of the train in accordance with the general appendix instructions. The brake test and isolate positions are to be used to carry out a one-person brake continuity test when working in push-pull mode using the following procedure. With the switch at service, charge the brake pipe to 5 bar and leave the brake controller in the running position. Move the switch to isolate. This prevents the brake control unit on that locomotive from charging the air brake pipe. Note that any severe leakage on the train will be apparent on the brake pipe gauge. Move the switch to brake test. This will vent the brake pipe from the rearmost brake control unit in the train. So if it has a DVT vehicle, the rearmost locomotive, if two are in multiple, So on a DVT hauled train, you've got a brake control valve in the locomotive, and there's also one in the DVT. On a train without a DVT, if you release the brake pipes, release the brake pressure up in the locomotive, you'd have to wait for this very last carriage, all that air to rush out, meaning it would be quite slow. With a DVT, you're exhausting the brake at both ends, so it'd be a quick application and quick release, which is quite nice. So over on this side and under this panel down here is the horn isolating cock, the washer wiper fluid isolating cock and sander isolating cock. Ah, look what we've just found, the brake test switch. While we're over these sides, I have covered these before, these handles you see up here. These are combined power brake controllers for shunting. It means you could stand with your head out with the window in the doorway and still control the train. So they have a push down, I think it goes up to notch 4 in power, and power can go up to full power, but brake it only goes up to notch 4 and emergency, and full service after that, but no 5, 6 or 7. To get over the DSD, you actually push that little knob down, and then you slide it forward or reverse. The little lever you see to the right is AWS reset, and also your horn as well. Right, 4 miles from Grantham. It's got a little while till we have to start doing too much. 158 going past, nice one. So this little bad boy here, there's a thermal indicator is provided in the driving compartment, which is controlled by the microprocessor and indicates the thermal condition of the traction motors. So that's this here. You can see the little line there. So green is good, red is bad, of course. This just tells you where the fans are going to be at and what they're going to be doing. So if it's in the green amber zone, the fans will come on. If it goes from red amber, the fans will stay continuously no matter what position the direction selector's in, until it cools it down enough. So as per usual, red bad, green good, amber fine. That as well, I think, is the ADD. Yeah, that's the ADD. It's the auto dropper device, like we were talking about with the Pantograph. That's the reset button for it there. See, Grantham always just creeps up on me. It's a really good guy. I think it's Avocet 1989. It's got some really good videos from that car park to our right there at Grantham, with the 90s on test. Even the 89, some of the 89 stuff's on there as well. He's done some great work. Go and check out his channel. Well worth a look. How did I still manage to overrun that slightly, even though I was coming in that slow? Talk about crap driving. Don't think we're actually too bad now. The doors only open about one carriage anyway on this. Actually, have I even got any open at Grantham? Oh yeah, three actual doors open. It's off to Skeg Vegas. Next stop's Newark. Do apologise if you can hear that plane taking off. So the power control system on the locomotive, just from you guys watching me pull away there'll be somebody going, "You've gone accelerated far too quickly." On opening the power controller, once the required direction has been selected and the traction motor contactors will close, providing the brake notch is in the running or at speeds below 6 miles an hour, the notch 1, 2 or 3 position. The brake pipe pressure is above 3.9 bar. The low main air governor is closed, so that would be above 6 bar. And the equipment governor is closed, and that would be, I think, 4.3 bar for that. The required speed having been set by the driver in 5 mile per hour steps from 5 to 110 miles an hour. The position of the power controller will determine the rate of acceleration. Power output, tractive effort, is controlled electronically dependent upon the difference between the required speed set by the driver and the actual speed. Should the actual speed exceed that set by the speed locomotive of the speed set, a locomotive rear static brake application only will be initiated. If this is not adequate, then the driver must close the power controller and apply the automatic brake to achieve the required speed. So, B, the position of the power controller, so we've got it at 100% now. The voltage of the overhead line, this is at higher speeds, it says in brackets here. The condition of the running rails. And E, the calculated temperature of the traction motors as displayed by the thermal indicator of the driving compartment. The maximum tractive effort will be available, but will be reduced if a fault condition results in the automatic isolation of any of one or more of the traction motor groups. So what this is basically saying is that as much as you move this, all this is doing is deciding how quickly you get to the speed you want to get to. It doesn't really say how fast you're going to go, because that's what you do with your speed set here, and it doesn't really say how much power you're putting down to the rails either. If it's giving you wheel slip, the computers themselves will lower the tractive effort until you get to that speed without wheel slip. So yes, in theory, with a 90 and a 91, set your speed, you can open that to 100%. It will make zero difference of how much power is put down to the rails. It's just about how fast you get there. I say it makes zero effect. Of course it does have a control, the power does affect the power, but not in the way you'd think. You're not actually controlling how much, by putting that at 100%, you're not putting 100% of the locomotive's power down to those wheels. You're allowing the computer to put 100% of the power down to the wheels, but if the computer says no, then it ain't putting 100% down. So this all comes back to the feedback from the wheel slip and wheel slide detection correction system. So the speed of each axle is monitored within the control electronics. A tendency to wheel slip will be detected by the electronics, and tractive effort on the slipping motors will be limited to give the maximum acceleration available depending on the condition of the running rails. If, however, wheel slip does actually occur, then the tractive effort on the offending axles is reduced at a controlled rate until the wheel slip is corrected, whereupon tractive effort is reapplied to its original level at a controlled rate. Similarly, should wheel slide occur during rear static braking, the braking effort on the offended axles is reduced at a controlled rate until the wheel slide is corrected, whereupon braking effort is reapplied to the original level at a controlled rate. Wheel slide protection is not provided during air braking. There you go. We spoke briefly about the braking handle on the 90, but we haven't actually spoken about the braking system, and this will go into telling you about the different release valves and things like that. I've got to keep an eye on my destination as well. We're only 10 miles away, about 5 minutes away then. So the braking system, the brake control system is a version of the Westinghouse DW2 system, already applied to the Class 43 trains and designated Class DW3. It allows the brake pipe pressure to be controlled in 7 steps using coded signals from the driver's brake controller, which is basically an electronic switch, to a brake pipe pressure control unit, which in turn determines the brake pipe pressure. The distributors on the locomotive and on the vehicles of the train respond in the normal way to provide proportional brake cylinder pressure. Since the driving van trailer, which is also equipped with a brake pipe pressure control unit, brake application is initiated either from that vehicle or from the locomotive when operating in push-pull mode, allows the brake pipe pressure to be reduced at both ends of the train simultaneously, therefore improving brake response. 2 brake actuators apply cast iron brake blocks to each wheel, i.e. there are 16 actuators in all, so 16, 2 to each wheel, so it's 2 4 this side, 4 that side, and then on the rear bogie 4 and 4. The locomotive is provided with rear static braking to reduce brake block, wheel and wear. Should the rear static brake not function properly, the locomotive may remain in service without any restrictions on speed, using friction brakes only. So with it having rear static brakes, it doesn't mean that it would be out of service without them, which is a nice little touch. Love the horn on the 90 as well. So it's got a hydraulic parking brake as well. 4 of the 16 brake actuators are fitted with a parking brake feature, i.e. those on the inner actuators of each wheel of number 2 bogie, which is designated BP9. There is no parking brake actuators on the number 1 bogie, which is a BP9A. The controls of the hydraulic system are located on a parking brake frame within the body of the locomotive towards the number 2 end, and the system is normally operated by an electric pump controlled remotely by on-off push buttons in the driving compartment, which are here. When on button is pressed, the pump pressure is applied pipeline to the parking brake actuators on the number 2, and the pistons within the actuators are then mechanically locked to ensure that the parking brake remains applied even after a total loss of hydraulic pressure. The mechanical lock can only be released by application of pressure to the release pipe from the actuators, which is achieved electrically by pressing the off button indicator in the driving compartment. Well, there you go. It's a bit more complicated than I even thought. In the event of loss of electrical control, a manual hand pump is provided on the frame to apply pressure to the apply or release pipeline as required. So there's always a fail-safe. So say it had been sitting stabled for ages and the batteries were dead and it needed to be hauled to depot, they could manually release the pressure. Mm, 3 miles, we should think about slowing down soon. Fire extinguisher equipment. 3 main BTM fire extinguishers are located within the body of the locomotive, and each has an electric firing head. To prevent accidental discharge of the extinguisher whilst the locomotive is under maintenance, a safety pin is fitted to the firing head mechanism. Should the fire alarm sound, the train should be brought to a stand and the master switch moved to the auxiliaries position. If upon investigation an outbreak of fire is judged to require operation of the main equipment, then this may be activated by either moving the master switch to the off position or by operation of external pull handles. So if the fire alarm goes off, after 5 seconds the VCB will open. Hold on, that's Newark there, that's not in 1.3 miles, is it? Or is this Retford? No, this is Newark. So why is it wanting me to go forward? Oh, it's pathed me wrong. Oh, I don't get it. It reckons I didn't pick up passengers from Grantham. I definitely did. I'm not due to go up and reverse into there, am I? Is that the plan? Should we try it? Chris didn't say anything about that. be that the plan then, is it? We'll have to have a look at that. I very much doubt it will be. I think it's just had a little bit of a wobble. Pathing on this route has been a nightmare. I know Chris has had loads of problems with it. There's no way I should be doing that. Because he'd have just brought me in from that one, surely. There's no way I'm going to be manually be able to do it. Ooh! A little bit exciting. Get to see the Newark flat crossing anyway. Oh yeah, no, the points have changed. Cool. Bit of a reversal. Right. Stick there, you are there. You can come out of there. You come off there, you go on there. You there. And you. Q doesn't seem to reset my AWS. That might be a scripting issue. Let's get some lights on. Tail lights off, marker lights on. Instrument lights dim. And there isn't a headlight button as such for this, is there? But consider, I haven't, no headlights working because I don't seem to have any controls. The Q doesn't seem to be clear, I just have to remember that. Or horn. Hang on. I hope that's not too close. It shouldn't be too close, should it? And I'm definitely cleared into there, aren't I? I know I could just check the map for this, but I like to do it like this as well. And that's red up ahead. No, it's gone to yellow. Stem switch back, which means you'll be going. Oh, it's a nice scenario, this. I'm sure Chris will put in some better instructions as we get further, as it comes closer to release, but very cool. Wonder what the script, if it is a scripting issue between the Mark IV DVT and the 90. Well, hey. Well, I thoroughly enjoyed that little run. Thank you very much for joining me, guys. Please feel free to like, share and subscribe. If you have subscribed already, thank you ever so much. If you haven't, do hit that subscribe button and the notification button. It does help me a lot. Also, head on over to the Facebook page and the Twitch, Fridays and Wednesdays for Twitch. Once again, guys, thanks ever so much, and I'll catch you next time.